Peter Spencer, UKIP obviously known for its abhorrence of Europe, this party, but Lord Pearson very keen there to show that this wasn't a one-issue party.
Absolutely right. He had a range of issues in his mind, all of which, I have to say, sounded remarkably similar to those that one has heard in the past from those on the extreme far right of the Conservative Party. Indeed, that very little badge he was wearing, his lapel, looked strikingly like those Save the Pound badges that Conservative candidates used to wear an election or so back, whereafter, of course, they had to acknowledge that they were seen by the electorate at large as being the nasty party. But yeah, you're quite right, and it's not just getting out of Europe, even though he's fairly blood-curdling on that. He's saying that, you know, it's a slow-motion coup d'etat, and particularly frighteningly warns us that in a year or so's time, Europe is actually going to eat us, which is an unattractive prospect, obviously, from our point of view. He goes very big, though, also on Islam, and that, of course, is another traditionally sort of very extreme right-wing Tory a topic, and he acknowledges actually that the economy is also in dire trouble, and makes the point, of course, that in his judgment a Conservative victory would be an absolute disaster, every bit as much of a disaster as a Labour victory. Although there is some little crumb of comfort actually from his, what I have to say in many ways will be seen by many as a fairly dark message, and that is at least that global warming is complete nonsense, so we can go charging up and down the country in our 4x4s without having to worry about destroying the planet in the process. Having said all that, William Hill, the betting folk, have actually shortened the odds on a UKIP winning at least one seat in the forthcoming general election down to 2-1, which is pretty short odds. So obviously there is there is a tranche of support there, and of course the UKIP are fielding 500 candidates, and so, you know, it is perfectly possible that they might at least get one person. We might have a UKIP MP in a few weeks' time, who knows?
Well, yes, and clearly we heard Lord Pearson there basically being rude about all the political parties, wasn't he? But is it really the Conservative voter that UKIP hopes to try and persuade round to their cause?
Well, I think he's hugely more likely to get Conservative voters than he is Labour voters, simply because, as I say, he has identified very clearly the concerns of a significant slice of the extreme right wing of the Tory party, and that significant slice, it has to be said, probably now feels relatively disenfranchised you know, as far as the Conservatives are concerned, because of David Cameron's so-called compassionate conservatism and modernism. David Cameron has moved away from that a fairly right-wing positioning of the Conservative Party, which served them so ill in the last 3 elections, it has to be said. And so that, so David Cameron's calculation clearly is you go for the centre or you go nowhere, which is, may or may not be so, probably is so, the history tells us so. But of course, those on those outer fringes do feel let down, and I dare say there will be a slice of them who will, of course, go for UKIP.
OK, Peter Spencer there at Westminster, thanks very much indeed for that. Let's just